G'day folks, in this video I'm going to show you how to solve the Son-4 Mum-3. Now this is one of the best puzzles I've actually owned. That might seem staggering given the unboxing that I originally did. You remember that originally I didn't even know that these edges split. Then I found that out and it went from being a ho-hum, it's a little bit boring, to wow, fantastic puzzle. If you don't have one of these, thoroughly recommend getting it. You'll see why as I go through the solve, and it is a long solve and it is involved. It's not a super duper difficult one. So we're not talking Aton Star or the Geranium, anything like that. It's got that just right feel to it. And it's interesting because it was in the same box as the Son-3 Mum-4, which is still currently in pieces. What I'm going to try and do with that one, because I have thought about some issues with that core. If you've seen that video, you realize that it exploded. The core's the issue. I might, when I've done this video, just try and replace all these pieces with the split pieces, replace the center pieces with that, and hopefully I'll have a really nice functioning Son-3 Mum-4. That's for another video. This is the Son-4 Mum-3. Turning is fantastic on this. It's actually probably the best turning of all the Son Mums that I think I've had. Now, I don't remember the original Son Mum, so that could have been better, but this just seems so good. I've had no issues with this at all. So with this one, essentially what I'm going to do is get a really proper scramble. It took me a while to realize and figure out how to get a scramble so good that you almost feel like you can't turn anything. If you're not with your scrambles of this puzzle, if you're not at that point, then you probably haven't scrambled it well enough. I'm not going to take you through the whole scramble, but obviously I'm going to start with the standard sort of stuff. And as you know, even that is probably getting to be enough because those corners, and they're going to just go all over the shop. So if I did that, what would I do next? Probably this sort of thing, just these standard sort of moves to get really the corners separated from the edges. If we come back here now and I sort of maybe turn it that way and see what's actually separating from that, it's the inner corners of the sun. So when I'm talking about corners, I'm looking at the sun centers now. There's the centers, there's the edges, there's the corners. So really it's only separating the corners from the edges, it's not touching the centers. So this is why, and originally when I looked at it, I did not realize these split, and of course they will enable these edges and the centers to split as well. So as I said, I'm not going to go through the whole scramble. I'm going to cut back in soon with a very, very well scrambled puzzle. Okay, well here we are with a pretty decent scramble on our hands. You can see that I've got double edges here of the same color. I've got a whole bunch of raised pieces. That's really important to get a hard scramble, is to make sure you have some raised pieces, and I've got clearly separated edges as well. And even this, I've found some that are slightly, occasionally worse than this. But what I mean by bad is that there's very few faces that you can actually turn. And I did have times when I thought, oh my goodness, I've done something inadvertently wrong. Like I've done some illegal move or something and just can't turn anything. Now at the moment, I'm fairly blocked. These side faces won't turn. That won't turn. This one will. And I've got my upper and my lower will. I've had it before where there's actually only one face that will turn. And I have been trying to get to that point, but I haven't managed it yet. But this will be okay, because the key to getting this back into a turnable state is to think about how we got it to this state. This little piece here, if we think about these split edges, how did they happen? The only way they could happen is if firstly I had edges lined up in one axis, but also all four of these mum edge positions were filled with sun centers. So that's what I've got to try and find a way of getting back to that. So initially, obviously, I'm just looking here and I'm going, well, maybe I can just turn this. And I can, but I can't turn that because of the blockage here. So that at the moment is locked up. So then I'd think, well, I'll put that back. Can I turn it this way? I can turn it that way, except now it's created this blockage. And what you end up is just sort of going around in circles a lot of the time. Can I do that? I would just be trying things like this initially to get it sorted. And I will be totally honest, on occasion, I've just gone, I'm just going to keep turning and hope that something happens. And eventually it does. You can see that I'm putting things sort of back here, but I still always appear to have something that's not quite right. So this now appears to be the main issue here. So what I would do, because it is continuing to be an issue, is just bring that in and turn that face and then put it back. And you are at the point where, okay, now things look normal. So that's really the first little mini stage, is getting out of that sort of jammed up or locked up position. Once you are out of there, then you've got to go about repairing these pieces. And I'm not going to try and solve them at all. I'm simply going to get them repaired so that I can put them into the edge position and then deal with the raised sun pieces. So in order to repair, obviously I must have the same setup as when I split them. So for example, I will initially, I'll do it on this axis here. So if I think, all right, that's sort of facing the right way, let's do that one as well. I want initially to get at least 2 in here. So perhaps I'll replace this one with that. Now you can see that I can't really turn that. Well, actually, can I? No, I can't because of that back there. That's blocking things at the moment. So I can't even really turn this face to make that better. So I'll try over this side here and just see if it will come up on this side. It will. So I want to replace that full one with a part 1, first of all, and then put that back into that center position. Now, at the moment, what I can see is even if I do that, this is always going to be a problem. So initially, before I even put that there, I'm going to replace that with a centerpiece. So in the same way, replace it with a centerpiece and put it there. My hope is that I can then turn this face and sort of get that out of the problem position. Now, it is now out of that problem position because if you think about it, what I'm going to be doing is turning up this axis. So it doesn't matter that this is like in that position. It'll turn fine. So that's a good thing. Now that I've done that, I can go replace. Can I? I can go replace. Interesting. Okay, so this is where this becomes a little bit trickier. I was going to say I can go replace that center with that piece again. However, I'm constantly battling between dealing with these raised bits and getting them out the way. Now, because of that, what I would be tempted to do here is say this looks like it's going to be causing a problem all the time. I'd be tempted to push it in like that and say, you know what, this, I'd either turn it around like this and say this is my new axis, and then I'd need to deal with this, or find some other way of dealing with these pieces. Now, let's just ponder this for a minute, because one of the things I can do is to remove various pieces from, say, here to here, if it suits, like I can go over an edge. So initially, I would probably start thinking, I'll put that back into that position and just seeing what, perhaps there's a different axis that is a better axis to use here. I don't know. It's all part of the solve. It's all part of thinking what's what. This is why I say this is a really challenging puzzle, because if you do it right, you've got a lot of these raised pieces sticking up. They cause a lot of problems. Just what happens if I do that? That will then... No, that's not going to... Just thinking out loud here. I'm just trying to think, is there a way I can deal with that, get rid of that onto another face? What I'd like to do is have my problem faces on the sides. If my problem faces are on the sides, then in the center it should be okay. Now, in terms of me thinking about that, one of the things we can do is essentially switch centers. And if I switch centers, I'm kind of switching that bit and that bit. And I'm hoping it might take this over to that side face. I'm just going to try it. Not 100% sure it'll work. It does work. I can bring that back. What you'll notice there is that this little problem bit is now on a side face, which is really good. And it may well be enough just to be able to go and say, now I can deal with this face. Then again, it may not. I may still run into trouble, but just looking at that actually looks significantly better having done that. So you can see on this side face, I've got 3 of these raised bits. I've got this one over here. Now I'm going to have to turn that eventually. That's okay because it's sitting over here on the side face. I just can't use it. Now my next question is, I need 4 of these parts. Do I have 4 of these parts available? Clearly there's 1. There's 2. Can I get another 2 from centers? There's 1 that I can get from there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think I'm in luck because you do need 4 of these pieces in order to deal with them. So next step, let's see if I can first get these things into one of the positions of the doubles. So the way that I would do that, I think that should be okay. Let's bring this one. If it'll turn, will it turn? No, it won't. There's this little problem piece over here again, but that should be okay because I need it like that anyway. So that should be fine now. I'm going to bring that out and replace it with this single piece and then put it back in. Reason being, I need to have a single piece there so I can join it with another single piece. So where's my other single piece? Here's one. Let's go and put it perhaps in this position. So once again, which way can I turn? I reckon, yep, that looks okay. I can turn up to there, replace with that single, bring it back down. Okay, now you can see that if I was able now to have these centerpieces here, I could bring that and match it with that one there. I'm deliberately keeping these 2 opposite so that I don't disrupt anything. For example, if I had a blank spot there and one here, it would make another 2 split pieces, which I don't want. Okay, so next thing is to fill the 4 places with the 4 mum edge positions with these parts here. There's one. I can't use that because it's got this dodgy stuff on it. Here's another one. So to put that there, I'm just going to use standard move to put that in that position. Have I got any more? There's another one. I can do the same thing. And I need one more for here. And I did say that I thought there was another one. So 1, 2, 3 are already there. I can't use that one. The only other possibility is to get this center out of this position, out of this center position. So I'm just going to see how I can do that. Need to get it out of there and probably replace it with something like this if I'm going to be allowed to do that. Now what's happening here? My little old friend has come up to block things again. So what I'll do is try doing it this way. And again, hope that that is free. It is free. That's fantastic. So I can replace that and put it back in. And now let's have a look. Where was the axis that I was actually working on? Oh my goodness. It was the one that had, it was this one here because it had these. There we go. That looks better straight away. Just got to now replace this with my newly formed, where is it? Piece here. So if I just turn that up to that sort of position, I just want to put this into here, which will be the 4th of my sets of centers. And what that now means is this can turn, and that's the key. So now I can turn that. I've kept those 2. I've made a double. Now, if you had more split pairs than that, let's say you had 4 little individual ones, what you'd be trying to do, you'd have 1, 1, 1, 1, something like that. And then you could just do a turn and they would form 2 pairs. In my case, I need to do that. And I've now got all of the pairs back as mum edge pairs, which is what I want. Okay, now that I've done that, I want to go and put these mum edge pairs back into the mum edge positions. Now, I think most of them should be fine. I'm a little bit concerned about this one here, and it may cause issues soon, but we'll see. So initially, what that means is, for example, I can turn that. I think I can. Or can I not? Ah, I cannot. Okay, let's go this way, because it doesn't really matter what axis I'm doing this on, as long as it'll let me turn. Can I turn that? Okay, I can't see anything that's blocking it. Why can't I turn it? I can turn it. Okay. Replace this one with, say, that center there. I should be able to turn that up. Put the center on and undo. And you can see what I'm doing here is that used to be there, I think, and that used to be up here. And I'm essentially just, I'm not really swapping, but that's what it looks like I'm doing. Getting center pieces back into the center, getting mum edge pieces back into the mum edge position. Let's try this and this one. Can I turn that? Can I turn that? Yes, I can. Okay, that's 2 done. There's 3 left to deal with. That is my problem piece. I don't think that's going to cause an issue if I do that. So I can put that up to the top, replace that with a center piece. It's good, 2 to go. I think I have to have that one facing the same way. There's my problem piece, but it's sort of on the bottom face. So I think that's going to be okay, is it? No, it's not going to be okay at all. It's going to cause me huge problems. So let's turn it like that. Just put it out of the way, see if that's any better. I think that will be, although, I've got a piece at the back there. So that just means that piece is causing trouble. I'll turn the side face just to put it out of the way. So hopefully now we are good. Yes, we are. Okay, 1 piece to go. Now, the problem that I have here, I think, is that the only piece that I can replace that with is this set of center pieces here, which has this really annoying raised edge bit. So I can't automatically go and do it. I need to deal with this raised edge somehow. So I this is why, again, with these puzzles, it's not really do every step in this order. It's here's the general approach, and sometimes you might have to stop and say, okay, I've got to fix something up. I need to just consider whether this might be the go here. If I can almost put that into the center, turn that so it's facing the same way. Here's my thought process. If I turn that into the center, that's my problem piece. Now, this one has been created as another problem piece. So then I would probably say, I would probably just temporarily turn that around so that I can get that piece over to there. Now I'll turn it back. Put it back into the center. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I do have 4 centers, so I can replace these 4 edges because now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 mum edges and 4 centers. So I think by doing that, I think that should solve the problem. So just turning that 45, is it 45 degrees? I think it is. And then going ahead and saying, well, let's do the first one. Now, should I might even just move that up to there initially. and in fact move that one up to there as well. I'm going to keep this the same vertical like this one here. Let's go and see if we can firstly replace that one. So if you think about what I've just done there is I did have one mum edge with no center pieces. By making that 45-degree turn, I created 4 center sections and 4 mum edges, which is kind of what I want. I've got to have the same number so that I can deal with them. Let's try and replace this one. That's looking good. Okay, 2 to go. Once again, we'll put this one up to the top if I can. I think I can. Yes, I can. Okay, that's up to the top. Let's now, perhaps I go this way. Will that turn? Yes, it will. Now, I should find out that there's clearly one mum edge and there should be one set of sun centers that is available to use, which there is. So my only task now is to swap them. I think I can go this way. Yes, yes, yes. Brilliant. Okay, that's a pretty nice little stage. So the mum edges are all back into their mum edge positions. So the next little part is to deal with all of these raised parts. And what I can do, there's a really straightforward move where I've got 2 sets of quads, for example, which is what I call them. I call this a pair, that's a quad. I'm looking around here, I do actually have 2 sets of quads. And what I need is for them to be on adjacent faces so that I can flatten them. But normally, if the scramble's good, you've got a whole bunch of these things. So what we now need to do is find a way to get them together. There are a few techniques here. Let's have a look at the first. So here's one technique if this is going to work. And I'm borrowing stuff from later in the solve, borrowing moves that I need later to do this. So one of the things we can do is kind of switch. If I turn this, in fact, let's... Oh, can I do that? No, because of the angle. And that. Yeah, okay. Let's not go there yet. Let's just consider, we may have to just, I think this might be the go. As I said, there is no hard and fast, do this next. It's what works. You just ponder if that's going to do the job. I think that will do the job. So what I'm thinking here is I've got these 2 pairs and I've got these 2 pairs. I'd like to join them. If I could make that go to there, I would have 2 quads, which is pretty good. Obviously on this puzzle, I don't have the space here to do this. So I've got to find a way to get them around to there and hope that nothing else blocks it. Just going to turn these side faces. This concerns me. I'm not 100% sure if that's going to be a problem, but we will soon see. So this is the same thing that I'm going to do when I come to reducing the centers. It's the same move. It's very simple sort of move, I guess. Now, actually, is it the centers or the edges? I never ever remember. So that is going to be a problem. Even if I put it like that, it's going to still be a problem. So before I start, I'm going to, this is one of those things where I said, I'm going to just deal with this problem face here by swapping that to there. I think we should be okay to do this. So this is a very standard move from many of the other Sun mums. It's just turning in, bringing up to the top, spinning and undoing. And you can see that raised part has gone from here to here and it's freed this up. So they are facing the same way, which is a good thing. I might even now be able to show you the technique I was going to show you before. In fact, I think I can. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can. In the same way, I'll just swap that over to there. What I want to do is swap this over to here. And when it swaps, it kind of flips around. So I'm hoping that the green-white will go with the green-blue there. And that will make a quad as well, if it's going to allow me to do it. So, no, it's not, of course, because, again, I'm not thinking, and that's going to cause its own set of issues. Can I do that? No, so I'm just going to leave that for now. I don't think that's going to happen at the moment. All right, let's come back to here, try and get these down to that section there. So what I need to do here is bring it in. I need to be able to turn this axis and then this axis as well. And the nice thing is it doesn't matter which way I turn each of those two axes. So I'm just going to undo this and undo that. This is going to be used a lot later on, but as I said, unfortunately, I've sort of got to use it now to deal with this. So where this comes unstuck is where you've got pieces that prevent some of the turning. So the first thing is bring that into the middle. Then I want to take this up and move this down. But what I'm saying is I could happily move this down like that and then move this up to here. It doesn't make any difference. What's going to happen is the same result. Once that's done, you'll notice if you look around, all of this is nicely freed here. So this is the quickest move that I know of to get this freed. When it's freed, I can do 2 turns like that. And then I can undo my moves in any order as long as this axis comes first, because that was the last one. And then I do this axis and you'll see I return it and we're good. Now, what has happened here? I've got a whole bunch of quads on that face and I've got no pieces on that face. So essentially these bits were on the other side. So this is all part of the technique of making quads. I would have a look here and say, is there another set like that I could deal with? Not an obvious one. So I do have that sitting there and I do have that sitting there, but at this point, I can't find a way to make them work. So the next technique is, am I in a position to be able to flatten some quads like this one and this one? This is another standard move from the other Son mums, and I think we want to have everything lined up vertically in the same way as this is vertically. I think this should work. I hope it works. What I want is to have one of the quads on the upright position and the other on the back. Is that back left? The same position on the back face. Don't care about this or this. Nothing matters there. It's just that one and that one that I'm dealing with. And the technique for this, bring that in. Bring that face up to the top. Undo. Undo. And then U2. And then I've got to undo all the stuff I just did. So that involves bringing that to the top, bringing this in, down, and out, and then technically do a U2 again. I won't do the U2, and you'll see those two positions are swapped. Now, if I did do the U2, you'll notice it's that position and that position, and in fact, what's going on here is that there is a 3 cycle involved. That 3 cycle will become hugely important when we need to deal with one remaining quad. So if you can imagine, everything else was flattened and I only had that. That's a pretty tricky thing to deal with. I will make sure I show that even if I don't get it. Okay, do I have another set of 2 quads that I can deal with? I've got a quad here. Got one there, that's good. So let's line everything else up in the same direction. I think we're good to go. Now let's do that again. So in, up, out, down. I don't know if those words were correct. They sound good to me. I'm hoping you can see what I said before about the turning of this puzzle. It's just really, really good. Okay, so we're getting there. We are getting there. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got these 4 left. What I will do is initially just think, because obviously, again, I'm trying to get these matched with the other 2. So now I'm going to have a think and go, is it possible to bring these 2 together? And I keep saying I think it is, but who knows? No, that's still going to be a problem there. So I can't do that. So another technique here is see what happens when I do that. Yes, turn it this way. This is going to come down to here, and that's a good technique as well. So I can just swap this across to there. Now they're facing the same way. I won't have blockages. Bring that up to the top, spin, come back down, and that has caused these. Now, I will continue in this manner as though this is what I had. And this is the same thing that I did a little bit earlier where I had these two here and these two here. And I think they're going to come down to that line. That's perfect. So how do I do this? Across, and this axis, whichever way I like, this axis, whichever way I like, and then spin 2 turns, undo. Okay, and what you'll see is that now I've got these 2 proper quads made. They are on the same face. So sometimes you end up with 2 quads left, sometimes with 1. If I end up with 2 like this, I need these on different faces. So what I would do is just turn that across like that. That puts it on a different face. And then I can turn them like this and go ahead and complete this move. And you'll see that all of them are now flat, and that's a great little mini stage. I did say though, I would show what to do with only 1 quad remaining. I'm going to set up for that now. All right, well, I've actually got 2 quads here. I'm going to show how to do this twice, just so it, I suppose, hopefully makes a little bit more sense. It's not super difficult, but it is something that you wouldn't intuitively see, I don't think. So ignore this one, pretend this is not there. This is the one we want. What we want is to have the initial quad on the up face in the right position. And what we're going to do is the same algorithm we just did before, which is essentially to get this down to the bottom. So that is simply bringing this in, moving this axis, moving this axis, and then splitting. Now, is that going to be a problem? It shouldn't be. No, it's not. We go undo that axis, and put this back. Now, you'll notice that there's the quad that I had over here. So that's still intact, no problem there. I'll just put that over there. I've split these 2. The next thing, now that they're split, and so this obviously tells you also, if you end up with 2 split things, you don't actually need to join them into a single quad first. You can go from 2 split ones here. So the next thing I want to do is position them so that both these pairs are on the up face in the back position. In other words, one like that, somehow. So I've got to have them not next to each other in a full quad, but like that, however I do it. So I would look here and just initially go, well, I'm going to move this over to here. That didn't do it at all. I need to do it with this algorithm, bringing that to the top, turning it. What that first one did was swap centers as opposed to just taking this edge. Okay, I'm then going to move that across to there and do the same thing and bring it down to that position. So again, a pretty standard algorithm for this cube. Now that's where I want them. And I'm just going to turn that face so that this is on the side out of the way. This is the position that I now need them to be. Now, the final thing to do is to just do the exact same algorithm for flipping or flattening 2 quads. So if I had a quad here and a quad here, I would hold it like this and do the algorithm I showed before. That's what I want to do now. And I will just explain why this works. What's going on is that this is actually a 3 cycle. So there's one piece here, or 1 quad, 1 quad, 1 quad. They are the 3 pieces. The one that's here goes over to there and retains whatever orientation it has. So if this was flat, it would go to here and remain flat. the one that's here and the one that's here move around and they change their orientation. So this flat part is going to come up to here and become raised. And you might think, what? Why would I want to do that? Well, let's think about it. This one is going to go to here and change its orientation. So that means this little pair will be flat, this little pair will be raised. That one is going to go to here and remain the same. So I'm actually going to end up with not just two pairs or the equivalent of one quad, but actually two quads. And of course, we know exactly how to deal with that. So that is the theory behind it. Get them in that position, and then away we go with this algorithm. Okay, and you'll see, lo and behold, there's those two quads and there's another raised one. Remember, that one doesn't exist, just pretend that's not there. I've now created a second quad. So obviously now, my only remaining task is to join these back as they were before. So to do that, I would probably go and move this across to the opposite face. I would say yep, so these are now set up in the same way that this part, or this pair, will travel down to there and create a quad. And so the algorithm for doing that was into here, this axis, and then two twists. Then we'll undo, and put that back. And what we're going to see now, remember that doesn't exist. We've got that quad there and that quad there. So we've created two quads instead of just having one. So I guess the technique here is not so much to straight away just go and flatten each of those pairs or flatten the one quad. It's to use that to create a second quad. So now I can grab this and I can go ahead, make sure everything else is lined up in the same direction. I can go ahead and flatten them. Okay, so they are now all flat. Now, this is why I wanted the other quad. I just wanted to show it all again. So this, now I do truly have just one quad. So you remember the first step was to get that quad separated into two pairs. So I can basically move one of these pairs over to here. So I'll hold it like that. Spin, bring it all back. You'll notice I've got no idea which axis in which direction I'm turning. It doesn't matter. Okay, what did we do next? We went and joined these together. Again, all of these algorithms that I'm showing are all, well, not all, most are standard algorithms that if you've solved the Son-3 and the Son-4 and all that sort of thing, these should not be new at all. So really the only new stuff on this puzzle, I suppose, is this algorithm that I'm showing you how to deal with the single quad, and possibly also just getting it into the in, down, out to get it into a position to spin around, which is kind of necessary to deal with this. Okay, they're now in this position. So again, now I go and do the standard flattening algorithm. And that has created the second quad. Now, of course, I need to take this down to the opposite face so that I can join this one and this one. Now, are they on the right line? Let's have a look. That looks good. Okay, so that should be fine. I'm going to angle that the same way. Spin them around, and I should find, if I've done that correctly, which it doesn't look like I have. Okay, let me just undo that and find out what I positioned incorrectly there, because they should join up to make a nice quad. That's what I've done. That line is the same as that line. So I need to move that there so that that will now come around to there. So it's a nice little check. You can kind of see straight away if you've positioned things correctly. All right, now where's the raised bit is here. So I'll turn the bottom half so we can see it. The other raised bit comes and makes that raised quad. Back we go. That's flat. There's one. There's the other. So now I've got my two quads. They are ready to flatten as normal. Okay. And as I said a little bit earlier, that's a pretty good milestone there, because what that is now is back to total cube shape. And from here, we're, I suppose, now into the next section of this new puzzle. So where we're heading towards this is reducing it to a Son-Mum 3x3. We're certainly not there yet. So this next section that we need to do, we've got to think, well, I've got my centers are all skew-if, and I've got the edges. Most of the edges are skew-if. I also, if you remember, still have bits like this. I certainly don't have all these edges. Obviously, I can't have a white yellow. That's not going to be possible. Orange orange, not possible. Blue green, not possible. So there's a bunch of these mum edges that I've got to fix up. So I've got the mum edges, the sun centers, and the sun edges. What is the order? Well, I've discovered that the order is to do the mum edges last. I need to do the sun edges first, and then the sun centers. Now you'll be really happy to know that the sun edges that I'm doing is precisely the same algorithm that I've just been using. So the one where I bring it into here, move this axis, move that axis. That's what we're about to use. And so let's just think through what's actually going to happen. If you remember when we did it, what we were doing was either separating or joining these raised bits, which were sort of here, and I was bringing that around to that line. So what's actually going to happen is that if I hold this as my top face, I've got green, red, yellow, white, yellow, red, blue, orange. That set of pieces is going to travel down to that position on the bottom face. So essentially, that's going to go to there. That is going to go to there. That's what I'm thinking. So when I come to do this, what I'm always starting with is saying, okay, for example, let's just say that I go, there's a red, blue. I'm ignoring the centers, and I'm just thinking about these outer edges, because what I'm trying to make is red, red, blue, blue, green, green, yellow, yellow, for example. So if I start with a red, blue, I'm going to go and look on any other face and see, do I have another red, blue? And I don't. But I've just noticed here a really good one. I've actually got a blue, blue and a blue, blue, which is nice. So I'm actually going to use that one there. When I find my pieces that are going to work, I need them on opposite faces. So if this is on the top face, I need to get this blue, blue over to that face. So the way I do this is to essentially swap the centers. So that center goes to there, that one comes to here. So I turn that across, spin my left face, bring it back. Now the blue, blue's on the bottom, the blue, blue's on the top. I've got to think, are they set up correctly? They are now, because that, if you follow the line, is going to come up to there. And I'm going to have blue, 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 which will of course create two blue pairs. That is the technique. So a lot of the time in this is not actually carrying out the algorithm. It's figuring out where to put stuff so that the algorithm does its job. So once they're in position, away we go. In, down, whatever. Spin, 2 turns. Oh my goodness, there's my 2 blue pairs. Bring it all back in whatever manner you choose. Where's it gone? There they are. 1 blue pair and another blue pair. That's it. That's what we're going to do. Now, you'll notice that I did have at least one other one initially, and that was that white one. So what I like to do is try and keep all the completed or reduced pairs onto the middle faces. Because if you think about it, I'm always just involving pieces on the top and the bottom face. So I would start by going, do I actually have any other pairs already made? No, I don't. So the next set I'll do, I'll put it there and I'll start on another middle face. Of course, I may need to change what I define as my middle face if I can't find anything to match. Okay, so let's have a look at this again. But I also want to stretch, I don't want to stretch. That's actually hard work. I want to stress that, let's say I'm looking for an orange red somewhere else. If I can't find it, I don't actually have to pair both of them. I just like to because it's quicker. I can just find so let's say a red piece that's going to match. That's really all that matters. I'm just trying to pair two at a time. So let's think white, green, orange, red. Do I have them anywhere? Just having a quick look around. There's an orange, red there. So the question then, it's actually on the opposite face. The question is it correctly positioned? And it is, because that orange goes to there and then to there. So that's going to match up perfectly. That's the sort of thing I'm looking at. They're in position. Let's run it through. You can see they spin, they match up. Undo. And they are now done. So again, I would go, where was that face that had all the other ones? It's of course vanished. Where's it gone? There's the white. Blue, blue. So again, I might just go, well, should I put these new pairs over here? And I've got the orange as well, so I might leave that onto there. Now, I've said it doesn't really matter. When you're doing that algorithm, the algorithm that we're using is to bring this in and then turn this axis, turn that axis. I've said it doesn't matter if you turn it down or up or left or right, but I think it's a good idea to do the same thing all the time, because I think it then keeps these pairs on the middle faces. So I'm going to try and do that from now on. So I've got a complete face of reduced edges. I've probably got another one somewhere. There's a white one here. Let's now just go again and go, is this top and bottom? Yep, that'll work. Blue, orange, or white, green. Nothing stands out. What about this way? Yellow, blue, or green, white? Well, there's green, white, and there's white, green, which is interesting. I probably can't do anything with that because they're tied up together. But what about a yellow, blue? There is a yellow, blue there. So let's see if I put that yellow, blue, so it goes blue, yellow. Does the other one match up? Blue, yellow, blue, yellow. Yes, it does. Okay, so I would position them there and say, good, this is ready to go. In undo. And back to there. Okay, how are we looking? That's that white that was still there. There's the blues and the yellows. There's my reds, my whites, the two blues, the orange. So everything else has stayed in that middle layer. So as I said, I would probably go and swap the yellow reduced pair across to here now, just to kind of keep everything in the middle layer. I've got that pair there, so I would go and bring that to a middle layer. Now you can see that it's relatively straightforward, and so the hard part's going to come when we get to the last few. So I'm going to continue working through them, and I shall cut back in at that point. Okay, well, I'm back here and I've got all of the middle layer, all of the edge pairs are reduced, as you can see. It's just this top and the bottom layer where I don't have them all reduced. So I'll take you through how I would approach this. And the first thing, as always, I'm looking for, is there a pair that's standing out, like a blue, blue, green, white, green, red, or orange, yellow. Green. I don't think there is. I don't think I saw any of them. I've got green, green, yellow, white. No, so I don't think I have any of them. So what I would do initially is to say, well, I've got this red, red here, so I'd rather not disturb that at the moment. So let's say that I'm going to use green, green or yellow, white. I'm not going to be able to get a pair or 2 pairs done. So let's say that I want to do this yellow. In order to have that match up, I'll need a yellow there. So that is in the correct position. It's not going to disturb that red. So I'll go ahead and make a yellow pair. I don't think that red, no, the red's going to come back to there. The white's going to come back to there. So that's fine. So I'll just get one done. There's our newly formed yellow pair. Okay, now, because I've got those pairs sorted, I've got a yellow pair here and a red pair down here. What I'm going to do is just move this yellow pair over to this face to put it on that face there. So I'll just do that a bit at a time. And I want to swap it with, I'm going to say, this green blue or something. It doesn't really matter what I swap it with, but I want to get it down to there. In fact, I can probably even just use this yellow pair. Oh, no, I can't. I've got to get that one off. Now, you're going to say it's going to put that back there, which is true. So actually, I think I can. I'm going to use that yellow pair. I'll swap it with the green. As I said, doesn't matter. I'll use the green red. Okay, so the green red's there. Now going to put that up onto this face. Okay, so that face is clear again. It's got no pairs. I do now have that yellow. Let's see. I've got the yellow pair on this face with the red pair. Now, it also appears to have made the green. I mean, I'm not going to be upset about that. I just want to double check that I haven't knocked something out elsewhere. I don't think I have. So I've got that face is clear. I've got green, yellow on this face, and so I'll leave them there. And now what I guess I'm trying to do is just work through. I'll probably have to sacrifice this red up here, but we'll see what's what. So I don't think I'm going to have a green, red. Obviously, I don't want to be talking about green, yellow, because they're already pairs. So green, red or blue, red. I do have blue, red. That's interesting. Is that the correct? It is. And this is where I said I do have a red, blue, which will go there. And it's going to sacrifice that one, but I don't mind because it's going to make a couple up here. So we'll carry that one out. And we'll just see where that leaves us. All right, on the top, 1, 2, 3. On the bottom, just one. Okay, so again, if it's top or bottom, doesn't matter. Next, I would say I'm going to use the orange, white here. Now, ideally, what I'd like is 2 bits on the bottom that I need to do and 2 on the top. At the moment, I've got 3 on the top. So again, I'm going to just transfer one of these over to the other face. And I'm going to put that yellow where the green is, and I'll move the green red to where the yellow is. So move that yellow. I'm going to do it properly this time. I don't think it made a difference, but who knows. Then I'm going to swap the yellow with the green red. Okay, so the yellow and green are now opposite on that bottom face. Bring the green red back to here and swap it with the yellow, which is the reduced yellow. Okay, so the point of that was now I've got 2 pairs done and 2 pairs not done, 2 pairs done, 2 pairs not done. Obviously, I'm hoping that they just perfectly match. I don't think they will, but you never know. So I've got white, green, and orange, red. Here, I have white, green, orange, red in the wrong formation. So the thing that I would do was say, okay, let's get one of them done. There's a red there. That red will come across to there. That's going to make a pair. So I'm going to have to do that initially. Let's see what else is going to happen. It's also going to bring the white to there. So it'll make 2 pairs and leave another 2 pairs not done. That's fine. That's normally what happens. So we'll go ahead and do that one. In fact, of all the times I've solved this, I don't think I've ever had it just perfectly work out at the end. Okay, so I've got a green-orange there, and I've got a green-orange there. What I'm going to need, if I think about that, that's now in position for the green to come up next to there. And the orange, if you follow that, is going to go back to the orange. So if I could move them across, that would solve those two. The problem is I need these two to be the same color. That's all that matters. As long as that piece and that piece are the same color, I'm home. So that's red. Could I make that red easily enough? Yes, I could, because I can just grab it from this face here. So that is what I do. Again, it doesn't matter that it's red. It just needs to be the same color as that one there. So now I'll bring red, green will come up to there. Go red, green, and the red, orange, red, orange. That's the end game of this little section. You can see there's the pairs there. And bring it back, and as we look now, all of the pairs of sun edges have been reduced. So that's another little milestone there. Okay, the next stage is to reduce the sun centers. So what we're looking for initially is things like this. So I've got a pair of orange and a pair of yellow sitting there in the centers. I've got a pair of green sitting there. Now, a lot of these things, you'll notice that didn't used to be like that, but as we've done some edges, some of the centers come back as well. So that's why that's happened. So that's what we're aiming for. The algorithm that we're going to use is almost identical to the one we've been using. It's got an extra move at the start and the finish, or in the first part and the last part, which I'll show you soon, and it's not going to affect the edges that we've done. So what I want to do here is consider essentially what is going to happen is this center, so the orange can move to any other face. It can move left, right, whatever I want. But every face is going to do the same. So if I move the orange to here, then that blue orange will move to here, the white will move to here, and so on. So generally, this time, instead of working on the upper and lower face, the change is going to happen in the middle face. So what I want to do initially is say, if I've already got some reduced stuff done, I'm going to make that the upper face, and I'm going to put any other reduced bits on the lower face. So there's a red reduced bit there. I'm going to move, in fact, I'm not going to move it yet because it's going to move the whole center. But when I do have another, I'll move it down to that face. Okay, so this is my working middle layer. I'm going to just spin anything already that I can. Okay, so there. You can see I could either have blues there or blues like that. And I might just need to think what makes more sense here. Or of course like that. So as an example, if I was to move the orange-green across to here, I would pair orange-orange. That's the sort of thing I want. Now, as long as I have any other bits already done, doing that move is not going to affect anything. So I normally just go for one at a time. It's fairly straightforward. So I'm going to show that now. I just have to remember I'm moving this way when I get to the key part. So what is this algorithm? It's almost the same as the other one. So it starts off like that. Bring that axis down. Bring that axis down. The only difference is I do this axis again. Now that is movable. And so remember I said the orange needed to go to there. You can kind of see it. There it goes. That's made an orange pair. Now I want to bring back everything I did. Now I will do it in exactly the reverse order I did it, but again, that doesn't really matter. So I've now made an orange pear. That hasn't moved. That hasn't moved. And you remember I said that I wouldn't mind getting another set of reduced centers on the bottom. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to move the reds next to the oranges in the same way. Okay, so I move those reds across to there. Move the axes back in whatever order I want. Okay, that's done. I've now got the reds, oranges. You'll notice that I didn't quite undo exactly. So what's happened is that center, which was down there, has swapped with the center, which was there. Doesn't matter. I'm now just going to switch that center and that center. Bring it across, turn the left face, bring it back. So now what I have is top and bottom with reduced centers. So the only other centers to reduce are in the middle layer. And you might notice that none of the edges are being touched as we're doing this. Okay, what's next? Blue, green, white, red, yellow, white. There's a blue, green there. And there's a... Now you'll notice that that's green, blue, and that's blue, green. So that's not really going to help. So I might look for something else. I've got a yellow piece here, which will go across to there. Now that is going to take the green, blue, and the blue, green to there. So maybe that's unavoidable. That's okay. I've also got the white and the white here. What I might do is turn it like that. That's pretty nice. Okay, I'm going to go to the white to here. So just move everything along. Check that nothing else is going to be damaged that I've already done. I think I'm happy with that. Okay, move the white across so it goes that way. Bring everything back. And we've now got a white pear. What have we got left? Yellow, red, blue, green, red, blue, yellow, green. Okay, so I would here probably go... I'll just start with the yellow, red and say, where does that have to go to? The yellow wants to match up with the yellow. There's no other yellows here, so that's what I'll do next, is just match the yellow to the yellow. That is possibly going to do... What else is it going to do? The red, blue will go to here, which will be red, blue, so that won't do anything. So I think it's only going to do that yellow. Unless I turn... If I turn that, does it make a difference? I still don't think it's going to do anything else. But it will put a blue there, which may help. I could have a different rotation on that face. So, yeah, let's move the yellow to there. So every time I've done this so far, I'm always moving one turn like that, clockwise. I don't have to. I could move that way. I could do 2 turns, whatever works. It just happens that I've done clockwise. Okay. Bring it all back. You can see that I've now got a completely white reduced center. What is remaining? Let's turn the yellows. So I've got green, blue, red, green, blue, red. We're not that far away. So let's see how we do this. We go, I've got a green, blue, or a blue, green, depending on what works. Blue, green. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring this center. Actually, it doesn't matter. No, now that I think about it, it doesn't matter. If they're opposite, I might as well do that. So the blue, green, I'm going to bring across to here to match a blue pair. So I'll be moving it 2 turns this time. Okay, 1, 2. Let's bring that back. Okay, that will leave me now green, red, and that's it. Okay, so let's think about how this is going to work. The the red-green wants to match with the red-green. So the next thing is that I just have to do, I've got one of two options. I've either got to somehow get every other color to be the same, or what's probably easier, actually at this stage, it doesn't matter at all because all I'm trying to do is reduce pairs. So that's fine. I'm not even going to think about that. I just want to match the red-green with the red-green. So one turn, bring everything back. Right, when I turn this face, you'll see that now I have total pairs. That's great. The last little step here is to reduce the centers fully. So in order to do that, I would initially, and I don't need to necessarily have the centers placed in their correct positions. I just need to have completely reduced centers. So for example, I'd say, well, let's make the green go there. Now, that means the red is going to go to here. Can I easily do something there? Yes, I can. I can switch these centers to put the red down there. So I'm going to do that. Okay, and then turn that red to there. So the red comes along. Next, the orange is going to come along. Can I match the orange with something? Yes, it looks like I can. Again, I'll switch those centers. So let's see where we started. The green was going to here. The red is going to go and match there. The orange is now going to match there. Okay, so I might as well do that. So the exact same algorithm, and I just want to do one turn. Like so, and undo everything. Bring it back. So I should have a few centers. Orange, green, red are done. What does that leave me? The blue, yellow, the yellow, white, the white, blue. Now, that could be a slight issue because I've only got 3 to deal with. They're all on the same line now though, so I might as well at least turn them around. What I will probably need to do here, this is where I was thinking there's a couple of options that you can deal with. And I think what I'll do is what intuitively is a simpler option. So I'm just going to do one at a time. The yellow, white, and the blue, yellow, I want to swap them. So I'm going to move the blue, yellow over to the opposite face. Switch those centers. So my plan is those yellow pieces are going to move across to here and create a yellow face. The intervening faces, I don't really care what they are. I just need them to be done bits. So I've got a complete red here. On here, I don't have a complete red or a complete anything. So I'm going to again swap the green over to there temporarily. Okay, let's have a think about, did I do that? Yes, I did. Yellow is going to go around to there. The red and the green are going to be disrupted, but only temporarily. So I'm going to get the yellow done. That's going to create a blue-white, and you'll notice the last remaining piece is a blue-white. That's the plan. So let's do this swap. Okay, this requires 2 turns. 1, 2. There's the yellow done. Bring everything back. Now, the green-red and the red-green are both swapped, but I'm about to bring them back. So I've got blue-white here. I need the other white-blue over in this position. Let's swap those centers. The yellows are safely stored. Blue's on the top, blue's on the bottom. Let's move them over, and once again, the green-red will come back and refinish what we already had. So 2 turns, and back to cube shape. And you'll notice, as I said, the greens and the reds have come back, and in fact, all of the centers have now been properly reduced. So if we just step back and think, where have we come from? We got it back to cube shape. We then reduced the sun edges. We've now just reduced the sun centers. we're nearly at the point of solving a reduced sum mum. The only thing left is that we haven't quite taken care of all of these mum edges, and that's what we need to do now. Now, the good news is it's exactly the same algorithm that I've just used to deal with the centers. And you might say, isn't that going to put the centers out? Yeah, temporarily, but they're all going to come back together. So what I like to do is just do whites first, then yellows, then the middle layers. So I would look around and say, well, I've got white, green, white, red. I don't have white, blue, and I don't have white, orange. So let's say that this is my middle layer. I'm going to keep that white, white there. I'm going to get the white, green, and the white, red up to the top. And I'm going to say, well, I don't really care about any others at the moment. I need to get the white matched with an orange and the white matched with a blue. So perhaps I'll put this double blue in here as well. I'll just have this in here as a fourth piece. Do I have an orange? No. So my plan is to match one of these whites with an orange and then again one of these whites with a blue. Then my white edges will be reduced. So how do I do this? Well, I do the same that I did before. So down, across, and down to enable this middle layer to turn. Now remember I said I had to do a white with an orange and a white with a blue. So what I can do here is turn this one turn because that'll give me the white orange and the white blue. That's fantastic. It's knocked the centers out. Whoops, that is okay because they are going to come back at the end. So now I undo my algorithm and let's see where we're at. Okay, white, green, white, red, white, orange, white, blue. Brilliant. Next thing, I want to now put the yellows into the middle layer and deal with them. So, well, certainly deal with the ones that I don't have. I'm certainly putting orange, red in the middle because that can't exist. Let's grab this white, blue out and put what? Well, I can put the red, blue in there because I've got two of them. Okay, let's see what's what. So the whites are dealt with. I've got yellow, orange, yellow, blue, yellow, orange, yellow, green. So I'm going to, the yellow, orange is up there. I've got another one here. I don't want the yellow, blue to be disrupted. So I'm going to replace that with my second yellow, orange. Now, if I've got yellow, orange, yellow, blue, and yellow, green, the other one I need is yellow, red. So I just need to make sure there are red bits here. Now, ideally, I got a blue, red there, but I've got a red, orange. I'd like to break apart this red, orange anyway. So that's what I've got to remember. The yellow, orange, I need to put that yellow with the red. That's the one that I don't have. Okay, so again, just making sure this middle layer is turning that way. You can see how the centers are split like that. So we'll bring this down. What did I say? Yellow, orange has got to become yellow, red. So that involves two turns. Like that, I've now got my yellow, red piece. Let's bring everything back. And see what's what. So the white edges are still good. Yep, they're good. The yellow, I've got yellow, green, yellow, orange, yellow, red, and yellow, blue. Perfect. So the last thing is to just take the yellow, red out and replace it with, let's say, one of the middle layer edges. So in the middle now should only be blues, greens, oranges, reds, that sort of thing, which I now have. So what I've found is that sometimes it's fairly straightforward to see what has to go where. Sometimes you just have to think it through a little bit because obviously I want to make the last turn to turn the centers back. So ideally I want to do one turn this way. So if I had orange, orange here, the orange could go to the green, which means the red would go to the blue, which means the red would go to the green and the blue would go to the orange. I think that works out the way they are now. So what I normally do is just give it a go and see what happens, because it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work. Okay, let's see. If I move one turn like that, okay, so I can see that that's going to cause a blue-blue. So what I need to do in order to not have that happen is flip this edge over. So I'm going to do that so that the blue goes to the red, right? So let's just think, firstly, that's created orange, green, green, orange. So I might have to flip another one along the way as well. But you'll notice that by flipping that, I've actually moved these centers swapped as well. So what I want to do before I deal with this is swap those centers back using standard moves. So that one's back in position. That one's also back in position. Having said that, I think I've flipped that one over. So I'll need to just put that back in so that it's correctly oriented, which I didn't think about there. And you can kind of see that it's correctly oriented or not, because the white's got to go to there. Now the green's going to go to there as well. Okay, so now I've got the orange going to the green, got this blue going to the red, which is going to be fine. I've also got another blue going to there. So what I want instead, looks like the blue is either going to go to the red or to the blue-green, which I don't really want. Okay, so at this stage, I'm going to say, I'm actually going to try going this way and see what that does. It does give me a blue-green and an orange-red, but it gives me blue-orange and green-red. So I'm actually going to be happy with that for now. I know that I can't stick with orange, red, and blue-green, but I'm just going to put everything back together and see where we're at. Just make sure that's all. Yep, that's fine. That's still going to work. So bring that back up. Bring this back up. Probably should do it that way. Let's see where we're at. Obviously, the centers are still out. So what I need to do is be swapping the whites across to here and the blues to here. So I want 2 turns to get the centers back. So now I want to think, well, how do I do that? If I've got the orange red here and the green blue, then that will give me orange, green, and red blue, for example, or orange, blue, and red, green. Now the other problem is that I've already got orange, blue, and red, green. So if I turn these two, I'm either going to get red, blue, or red, orange. Okay, so thinking this through, if I have the red, green, and the blue, orange, which are already complete, the only way I can sensibly switch them is so that it becomes red, blue, and orange, green, which means the other two need to be, if I've got red, blue, and orange, green, they need to be red, green, and orange, blue. That tells me the red needs to match with the green and the orange needs to match with the blue. Now I know what's got to happen. Okay, so I sometimes would even write this down just to remember it. So what did I say? I'm going to end up with red, blue, and orange, green, which means I need red, green, and orange, blue from these two. Red, green, and orange, blue. Okay, let's have these settled. Okay, these are my problem pieces. I need red, green, and orange, blue, which means that's got to go red across to green, and therefore the orange, blue will be made. So that's the first thing, red, green, and orange, blue. What about these ones? Orange, green, and red, blue. Okay, they are set up. So now that I've spun that, all of these pieces are going to correctly make individual correct mum edges. The only issue is my centers are not yet correct. So let's just fix that. Because remember, the red, green used to be over here when it would have been fine. So what I've got to do now is just replace these centers so that 2 turns will make them work. So let's say, firstly, the white, blue, and the white, blue. I've got to move the white, blue over to here. First of all, okay, that's now in position. The next one is I've got red, green, which means over here has got to go green, red. So the green has got to be on the top. Like that. Now I think everything is set up. I'm actually just going to test it. Turn it 2 turns. You can see all of the centers have come back. And my only question is, do I have individual correct mum edges? Blue, orange, blue, red, green, orange. 100% yes, we do. So now we are ready to bring it all back to cube shape. And after all that, we now have all complete and correct mum edges. All the whites are there. White, red, white, orange, white, blue, white, green. I've got yellow, orange, yellow, red, yellow, blue, yellow, green, and I've got all the middle ones that I just completed. You'll also notice all the centers are back and reduced. All the edges are still reduced. This thing is now ready to solve as a reduced Son-Mum 3x3. Now, don't worry, I'm not just going to skip ahead to the end of the solve, because this is a full-on scramble, and well, not a scramble, but a full-on solve in and of itself. So the very first thing that I want to do here is actually check for the parity problem. And if you've done the Son-Mum 3x3, you know you want to do this at the start, because if you leave it till the end and have to do it, it almost destroys the whole thing. So what is this check? Well, the check involves really solving the outer mum parts, but with correct centers. And I want to check for a pair of swapped corners at the end. That's the problem. Now, if I don't get that problem, I'm going to set up for it to show you how to fix it. So in order to do that, first thing is to get centers into correct position. So it's the standard color scheme, but if not, you're guided by the corners. So if that's my white, my yellow's got to be over there. So I'll do a center swap, put the yellow down the bottom. So white on the top, yellow on the bottom, red. This should be blue. This should be orange. This should be green. So I'm just going to firstly swap the orange and the green, then swap the orange and the blue, and then what do I have to do then? The green and the blue. No, that can't be right. Yes, it is, because then I've got to swap the green and the orange. So just go ahead and do all of these swaps one by one and check your color scheme. Red, that's white, by the way, on the top, and then red, blue, orange, green. Fantastic. Okay, now that the centers are good, I want to go and actually start placing white edges. So do this however you do it. It's my last one. Okay, so I've got some middle layer edges. There's the red, green. There's the blue, orange up there. I'll run through this relatively quickly because this is just solving as though it's solving a 3x3. Okay, I've got 3 middle layer edges. Let's get the yellow oranges in position. Let's get that yellow green into the back position. Okay, and what does that leave us with? Blue, red, red, yellow, blue, yellow. What have I got? Those two have to swap, so that's a turn of the upper face. And what does that leave us with? Blue, yellow, yellow, red. Yep, let's okay, see where we're at. Okay, so all of the edges are now solved. We're not quite there yet. We still don't know because we've got to really solve the corners. Now, I'm sure there are ways to not actually solve the corners, but for me, it's too much to remember. I'm too old, so it's just as quick to go ahead and solve most of the corners. You probably need 4 done, so you can clearly see what's going on. Doesn't really matter which 4. White, green, orange. I'm just using the corner piece series here to do that. Use what you like. There's white, blue, orange, which has got to go across to there. And the other one is white, green, red. I won't bother trying to solve, I probably should actually try and solve the whites. It'll make it a little bit easier. That's a pain in the neck. So let's go this way. Yep, I'm happy with that. And bring that back. So that's 3 of the whites. The last one, well, that is a little bit of a pain. I don't like the position that's in. So just see if I turn that to there. I think that'll be okay. So I might even just do that as a setup. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, now I can solve that last white one. All right, so the white corners are done. I just now need to look at the yellows and just determine, do I have a 3 cycle or a swap, essentially. Yellow, blue, red goes to there. Yellow, orange, green goes to there. Yellow, red, green goes to there. Yellow, orange, blue goes to there. Okay, so that is actually a 4 cycle. So what that means is the same as a swap. And in case you're wondering, really, I will go and solve the yellow, green, orange. That's actually yellow, green, red. My colors are all off today. Get that one in position. And we'll see that the yellow, blue, orange is also solved. And so I've got a yellow, red, blue, and a yellow, green, orange, which need to swap. And this is the thing, that if you get it at the end and you've done everything else, real pain in the neck to solve. I mean, it's the same fix, but it's going to disrupt so much that we have not yet done. So now's the time to deal with that. So the fix for this is it's not a hard one. It's just, I don't think it's particularly intuitive to come up with it. I didn't come up with it initially. Someone else did. It was years ago. But here's what you do. It doesn't matter how you hold it. You just want to do 4.5 of this routine. It's going to sound very strange, but I'll take you through it. So down, down, up, up, starting with my front face, and then a U plus. So just that middle layer across 45 degrees. And then I want to do a down, down, up, up, starting with my right face. And then the middle face. Now that is one of these things. I need to do 4.5. So down, down, up, up, middle layer across, and then the other down, down, up, up, middle layer across. That's 2 of them. There's 3. Let's keep going. There's 4. Now I said 4.5. So what that means is now I do this down, down, up, up, and then move that middle layer. That is the end of the algorithm. And you'll notice that all of the mum edges are back into their positions. Now, there's absolutely no reason or need to resolve to check. That has fixed the issue. So I'm not going to end up with 2 swapped corners at the end. What you'll notice is that it has caused a bunch of raised stuff here to begin with. So once that's done, I need to go ahead and just flatten all of those raised bits. It's straightforward. It's exactly the same as what we did before when we were returning to cube shape. So we whip through that. Okay, that's the first 2 done. I'll turn it around to here. Do these 2. Whoops, it's going to go. No, it does go down. I think I did that correctly. Sometimes I rush and lose track of what I was supposed to be doing. 1, 2, 3. I think I'm good. I should have 4 left now. Okay, so I'll do these 2. And there should be 2 more. There are. Whoops, it was actually that way. Oh, I think I've actually just mucked something up here. So, yeah, shouldn't rush these things. I'm probably going to find this is not going to work because maybe I didn't have them in the correct place. I'm going to go a little bit slower here. Okay, up, back, down. This looks better. Up, across, down, out. Magnifico. Okay, everything is back flattened. Now what you'll notice is that that hasn't actually affected any of the good work that we'd already done apart from the raised stuff. So the centers are still there. They are still in their correct positions. Everything is still reduced. So now that we've done that solving of that issue, the parity problem, the next thing is to solve the sun edges and corners. In other words, basically to get all of these centers as a single block. This is, again, pretty straightforward to do. And I'll start with, doesn't matter what I start with. I'm just looking for, like that, a green one where there's already a double green. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to pretend that I don't have one of them. Okay, so I'll start with a white. The first thing I want to do is get any double and place it there. And the way I'm going to do this is this standard algorithm, bring it in, turn it up, U2, undo, undo. So that just swaps that and that. That's the thing I'm going to be using all the time. The next thing, assuming I have a triplet already made, which I may or may not, is then to swap the edges to put the triplet there. So if I had it like this, that triplet would go to that position. What I want is for it to be snug against the pair that I just put there. So bring it across, up, and on. It's so simple, it's so quick. I next need to get another triplet. So I don't have a triplet, I've got to make one. So let's say that I make one here. I've got a pair and that single I'm going to swap so the single goes up to there to make a triplet. Now where is that? It's got to go to the other side. So I've got to bring that triplet over to the next face. And then I can put it here and say, yep, that's now going to jump down to the lower 3. So it's on the upper 3. It's going to go to the lower 3. That's what I want. And then the last one is the quad. So I've got to make a quad. Okay, so same sort of thing. Make a triplet first. And then I should have another white piece, which is over. It's over here. I'm going to, well, actually I can move it to this face. It doesn't matter that it's just going to sit on there. So I'll move it across to that face. And then I want to attach it. Now this is where I may have caused myself a problem because I actually want to attach it down to there, but that's not going to work. So that piece needs to be in this position. So the other thing that I could try and do here, is that going to work? No. So I've actually caused myself a little bit of a hassle. So I'm just going to take that single piece off of there. The reason for that is I can now move that single piece there or there at will. And it needs to be there in order to make that quad. Okay, so that's there. Now that I've got the quad, I simply go and attach it to the remaining pieces on that white face. And I have a completed set of white centers. Now, that's essentially what's going to be happening. And it's mostly pretty straightforward down to the last couple of centers. So I will continue and cut back in when I'm at that point. Okay, and just coming into the last bit of the orange face, which will leave me with 2 faces to go, the yellow and the blue. Now, I would just probably have a look at which one seems more easy. None of them seem particularly straightforward. So probably here, just having a quick look at the blue. I'm almost tempted to go, I'm actually going to do the blue because I think it's going to end up being a little bit easier. So first thing, I'm going to put that blue up to there and get this one over here. Okay, next thing, I'll turn it around and just see. Yes, so that blue and that blue can go there. Now, in actual fact, before I go and place that blue, what would be very, very helpful is to see if I can make a quad already. Now, in order to make that quad, I'm going to have to, sometimes this works, sometimes it's just easier to go and place it. Maybe I'll try placing it and just see how we go. So placing this triplet is going to leave me with a slot for a quad, but not yet a quad. So I've only got these two faces to use. So what I'm thinking is, well, eventually, in order to make the quad, I kind of need that there, and I need a piece that goes into there, which means it's got to be in that position. So what I can do now is turn that around, put that piece up there, first of all. And then when I turn this blue part back, my single piece will jump on and form the quad that I need. Okay, which then means I'm home. So even those last two faces, they involve a little bit more thought, but they're not really that bad. So what we've now reduced it to almost entirely is a 3 by 3, because what we've got here is we've dealt with all the centers. We're now going to go ahead and solve the edges, and it's possible that this will be it. It'll just solve like a 3 by 3, but there is one other thing that can happen. And so I want to make sure that I show that as well if it doesn't automatically appear. Let's now for real solve the white edges. Let's put 3 middle layer edges in. That's good. So now let's go and grab these ones on the top. There's the yellow red. Put the yellow green in. Where are we at? Orange blue to yellow blue. Okay, so there's another swap. So we'll turn that one turn and replace those edges. Okay, where are we at now? Yellow, blue, orange, yellow, orange, blue. Let's go ahead and I think we are going to get what I wanted, which is great, which is this single flipped edge, which obviously wouldn't happen on a normal 3 by 3, but being the Son-Mum reduced cube, it does and can happen, and it certainly has happened here. Thankfully, this is a super simple fix. What we're going to do is flip this edge with another edge using the normal algorithm, the 8 move thing that I would normally use. The difference is I don't want to flip this and that because it's just going to create that problem. But what I can do is move that set of yellow centers up there and treat that as the other edge that I'm flipping. So how would I normally flip it? Down, down, up, up like that. And then I would move this across, move this one up, undo, undo. When I put that back, you'll see that the centers have actually flipped. We just can't see it. That edge has also flipped. So really simple there to deal with. And now I just want to go ahead and solve the remainder of my corners. Again, not spending a lot of time on this. I assume people are familiar with the corner piece series. If not, links in the description. Okay, where are we at? Orange, blue, yellow can go across to there. white, orange, green. Yep, so I can move that as a setup. Let's see where we're at. 3 to go. Okay, what? Oh no, that's going to there. Yellow, orange, green. Goes to there. Yellow, orange, blue. Yep, that one's in position, and I've got another 3 cycle here. So if you remember earlier, we had the 2 swapped corners. We certainly do not have that now because we fixed that problem. So at the moment, it's just a matter of what's the easiest way to deal with the issue that I have. You know what? No, that's not going to work. Ignore that. Ignore everything I just said. Okay. This will work. Okay, so yellow, blue, red will come to there. That'll go to there. That'll go across. That's fine. And that should leave me 3 remaining. All right, the yellow, green, red is going to go to here. That is going to go to there. I've just got to figure out how to get this piece into that position so that it'll properly place at the end. So the white sticker color is going to be there. I need to get that yellow sticker, which is in the white face, onto that position before I start. So that's my first setup. I'm not going to remember that. I'm not going to bother. To get that yellow to there, I need to move it up, but I need to move these out the way first. Okay, now that's ready. I can carry out my 3 cycle. And I've now got to undo all of those setups. Okay, and you can see that our Son-4 Mum-3 has finally been solved. That was probably a long solve. As I said at the start, it's a really involved solve. It's a good, challenging puzzle. It turns really, really well. This one anyway. I don't know what any others are like, but this one does. And I hope that makes sense of what could have been a very confusing puzzle. As always, thanks for watching.